Dear student, welcome to our program, Knowledge Quest. The subject is biology, and I'm your teacher, Lydia Asiago. Now, in our previous lesson, we've been discussing about genetics, and so far, we have discussed some of the characteristics that are carried on the sex-determining chromosomes, and they are inherited together when someone inherits those chromosomes. Today, we want to discuss about color blindness. How do we inherit color blindness? How do we inherit color blindness? Now, when we talk about color blindness, I don't know what comes in your mind. Does it mean that someone is blind, cannot see any color? No. It means that someone is not able to identify some of the colors. We have people who are not able even to identify or distinguish between red and green color. So such people, we say they are color blindness. Now, color blindness is a characteristic, it's a condition that is caused by a recessive gene, and this recessive gene is also carried on the X chromosome. But we need to have a picture. Now, when we talk about color blindness, let's have a brief discussion on the issue of color blindness. Now, where do we perceive color? Now, which part of the body that makes perception? We know that our eyes, they sense light. They are used for perception. But you realize that if you draw the structure of the eye, you know that the eye has various parts, and each part plays its own role. Like now we have the lens, we have some fluids, which we call the humor and the aqueous humor. Then we have some other parts of the eye that we call the cornea, conjunctiva, and the rest. So for today, we are not discussing about the eye, but I want you to have a brief hint on where the color blindness is coming from. Now, when you take the structure of the eye, just at the back of the eye, we have a part that we call retina. You have a part that we call retina. Then, on the retina, this is where we expect to have some cells that are sensitive to color. So we have cells that are very sensitive to color, and those cells, we call them photoreceptor cells. So we have what we call the cones, and then we also have the rods, the ones that we use to perceive. Those are photoreceptor cells. But now these photoreceptor cells, you realize that the cones are more sensitive to light of high intensity. They are more sensitive to light of higher intensity. Light of high intensity. And then we have the rods that also are sensitive to light of low intensity. So where light is high and where we have light that has low light intensity. So we have cones that are sensitive to light of high intensity, and we have the rods that are sensitive to light of low intensity. But you realize that anytime an image is formed on the retina, it is formed at a specific part that we call the fovea. So this part here, we call it fovea centralis. So any image, we expect it to be formed at the fovea centralis. And you realize that we are saying that we have photoreceptor cells, which include the cones and the rods. And we are saying that the cones are sensitive to light of higher intensity and the rods are sensitive to light of low intensity. And that's why you find that mostly the cones, they are used during the day when there is high light intensity, and the rods, they are used when there is dim light, that is dim light. But remember, this is a human being, and that's why you realize that we see best or clearly during the day or when there is much light. But when it is dark, we are not able to see. Now, why? You realize that at this point here, there is a higher concentration of cones. There is a higher concentration of cones at this point here, the fovea centralis. We have more cones than the rods, and that's why we are able to perceive clearly where we have light of higher intensity. But my question is, remember we are learning about inheritance. How do we inherit color blindness? And what is this color blindness? So you realize that the two photoreceptor cells, the cones, are the ones that perceive light. The rods do not, the cones are the ones that perceive color. The rods do not perceive color. So in a way we are saying the cones, they perceive color. What does that mean? It is the cones that are able to perceive, tell us that this is red, this is green, this is yellow, this is black, this, no. It is the role of the cones. They are able to perceive the color. But the rods do not perceive color. So you cannot use the rods to distinguish colors or to identify colors. And because of that, you realize that we have cones for specific colors. We have cones for specific colors. So you have cones for a given color. You have maybe cones for to perceive red color. You have cones that can perceive yellow color or any other color. So we have different cones that perceive different. We have cones that perceive different colors. But you realize that when someone talks about color blindness, then it means you are missing a given cone for a given color. I don't know if you are following that. We are saying that the cones, they perceive color. And we have cones that are responsible for different colors. They perceive different colors. So if you are missing a cone that can perceive red color, then you are colorblind. You cannot be able to identify the color for red. If you are missing a cone that can perceive, for example, the green color, then it means even if someone gives you a substance that is colored green, you will not be able to identify that this is color green. Why? You are missing that cone that is responsible for color green. So as a student, I hope you are getting the background of when we say colorblind. Colorblind does not mean that someone is totally blind to all colors. No, someone is colorblind to some specific colors. And why? It is because that person is missing some cones for that specific color. And I've said that those cones, we find them on the retina. Retina is a part of the eye, which we'll discuss later when we discuss about response and coordination. We'll discuss that. So basically, I hope now you are getting what we mean by colorblind. And you realize that in most cases, there are many cases that are reported that there are people who are colorblind. They cannot distinguish between red and green. It's the common one. So you give someone red, will not be able to see it as red. Maybe you'll see it as something else. If you give someone green, you're not able to identify that this is color green. That is a common characteristic. It's a common red-green colorblind. That is very common. So basically we are saying that if you are colorblind, you are missing a cone that is specific for a given color. We may not go into details. I only want you to have the picture of inheritance because we were learning about in variation and inheritance in living organisms. And we are saying that colorblind is caused by a recessive gene. A recessive gene. And this recessive gene is carried on the X chromosome. The recessive gene is carried on the X chromosome. So what does that mean? It means that for the girls, we have the 2X. For the men, we have 1X. So the 2X might be carrying the recessive gene. So you will say you are colorblind. Or the 1X might be carrying the gene for normal color vision, because in this case now, we are talking about someone who is having a normal color vision. You are able to identify all colors because you have cones for each of those colors. Or you are colorblind for some specific colors because you are missing some cones that are responsible for those colors. So in that case, we are saying that it is a recessive gene, meaning the gene for normal color vision is dominant. The gene for normal color vision is dominant. Then the gene for hemophilia, the gene for color blindness, the gene for color blindness, blindness, the gene for color blindness is what? Recessive. And because the gene for color blindness is recessive, so we are going to use a small letter. We said we use a small letter. Whichever letter we are going to use, make sure it is a small letter because it's a recessive gene. And anytime you're using a dominant gene, then you have to use a capital letter. So in this case, you're going to use any letter, but you make it capital. Now, now we want to see the genotype for various people who are either normal or they are normal for color, they have a normal color vision, or they are colorblind. So you want to choose a letter. I don't know which letter you're going to choose at home. I give you 1 minute, you choose a letter that you're going to use. For my case, I can decide to say, now that I have a normal color vision and I have color blindness, I may decide to use letter N. Remember we said you pick N letter, but it is good you tell us what that letter represents. So I'm using letter N, so let letter N represent the gene for normal color vision. Then if capital N is representing the gene for normal color vision, then it means the small, we say that we are going to use a capital letter to represent a dominant gene, and a recessive gene, we are going to use a small letter. So of the same, it's only that it is in small letters. So let small n represent the gene for color blindness. So I hope you are very keen. The letters are just representing the gene. The letter is representing the gene, and the genes are carried on the sex chromosome and specifically the X chromosome. So let's see, if you are a girl you have 2X. I hope you remember that. So that is a girl. Now the girl can be having a normal color vision either in homozygous condition or heterozygous condition. So if it is homozygous condition, then that is the genotype for the girl. So this is a girl. This is a girl who is having a normal color vision, but now in homozygous condition. Then we are having another girl who is having normal color vision, but now is in heterozygous condition. So we say he's going to carry the gene which is recessive. So still this is a girl. But this person is what? In homozygous condition. Homozygous condition. This person is in heterozygous condition. Now that is the case for the girls. What about the boy? Boys, they only have one X. So that X might be carrying the gene for normal color vision. So this is a boy who has a normal color vision, or that X for the boy might be carrying the recessive gene for color blindness. So you say this is also a boy, but now this boy is normal, having a normal color vision. Of course, you don't just say normal and you leave it there, because normal is a relative term. So we are saying, in relation to the characteristic that we are learning, we are saying the boy has a normal color vision. The boy is what? Colorblind. So the same case applies even when we were discussing hemophilia. You realize that hemophilia commonly affects the boys. The same case, colorblindness commonly affects boys. That's why you hear people say that boys are colorblind. But we don't just generalize and say boys are colorblind. It is because for their case, they are either having a normal color vision or colorblind. Reason being, they are only carrying the one X chromosome, which that X chromosome can be either carrying the normal gene or the defective gene, which is the recessive gene. But for the case of girls, of course, you see we have 2X. So you can be very normal, but you are carrying the gene in the recessive form. But that recessive gene, at one point, if it gets another recessive gene, then it is going to portray, it will give show off. So briefly, that is about color blindness. Now you want to do a genetic cross to show how the inheritance takes place. So in this case, you want to have different examples so that we see how is it inherited. You can have a family whereby all of them, they have a normal color vision, but one of their child or some of their children, they are colorblind. Then the question is, where did they come from? What happened? So that is where the blame game gets in. But let's see. So we have example. We have an example. Start with the example 1. I'll use some of the examples so that I make it, it becomes easier to use. So example 1, we have a normal color vision man, a man with normal color vision marries a woman with still normal color vision. But this woman, as much as she's having a normal color vision, this woman is a carrier. And I hope up to this point now you understand what I mean by a carrier. A carrier is someone who is in heterozygous. Heterozygous means you have the two genes. You have the dominant gene and the recessive gene. So the woman, yes, she has a normal color vision, but she is a carrier. She is having the recessive gene for the color blindness. But at the end of the day, basically these people, when they get married, all of them, they say they have a normal color vision. So let's see maybe what will happen when they have the normal color vision. Remember we said anytime we do a genetic cross, we start with choosing the letter that you are going to use. So we let capital N represent capital N to represent the gene for normal color vision. And we let small n represent the gene for color blindness. Then we say we have parental phenotype. Physically, all of us, we are very fine. Phenotype, parental phenotype. So we talk about the man, we also talk about the female. So parental phenotype, all of them, they have a normal color vision. So normal color vision. Then the female is also having a normal color vision. Don't forget that in bracket, this person is what? A carrier. So a carrier means is having the recessive gene for the condition. So we say parental genotype. What are the genes for these two people? So parental genotype, we have a normal man. So this man has a normal color vision. We are crossing these two. We are crossing these two with a female who is having a normal color vision, but she's having a recessive gene. Then we say we go to gametes. So gametes, in this case, after meiosis, what do we expect? Each reproductive cell will be having a given chromosome. So in this case, you are going to have X with the normal gene for normal color vision and our Y. Then we are going to have the other one. Remember we said our circle should be complete. Then we do fusion, which is the same as fertilization. Remember we said fertilization is a cause of variation. So we are going to have a girl who has a normal color vision. And this one with this one, we are going to have another girl who has a normal color vision, but this time this girl is carrying the recessive gene. So we show it there. Then we are going to have another one. So this one will be a boy with a normal color vision, and then this one will be another boy who has a color blind. So this is our F1 genotype. Remember we are discussing inheritance of color blindness. Now, assuming you are doing the cross together with me, and this is what we have, the F1 genotype. Now, can you try and interpret the F1 phenotype? Just as we go for a short break, then we'll be back. Dear student, welcome back to our program, Knowledge Quest. Before we went for a short break, we were discussing on color blindness, and so far we said that the color blindness is caused by a recessive gene that is carried on the X chromosome. Now we tried to do a cross on the board, and before we went for a short break, I had given you the assignment. The assignment was interpret the F1 genotype, because we were doing the cross together. So I expect at this point you've done that. Let's compare what you've done and what we are going to do together on the board. Now we said that we had a normal man, a man with a normal color vision, which we said that the capital N to represent the gene for normal color vision. And we also had a female who was having a normal color vision, but she was a carrier. So when we did the cross, these were the F1 genotype. That is the first filial generation, the genotype for the first offspring. So we say that if you cross this X, you cross with the other one, you are going to have a girl. So we want to interpret together the cross. So F1 phenotype, so that you compare with mine, you mark for yourself what you've done. So we have, this is a normal, this is a girl. So because we are dealing with the X and Y, it's always good to identify the sex. So this is a girl or a female with normal color vision. Number 2, this is also a girl with normal color vision. But if you are very keen, this girl is not the same as this one. This girl is normal color vision in homozygous condition, but this one is normal color vision in heterozygous condition. So we are saying, yes, you have a normal color vision, but you are a carrier. Then you have a boy. So we have a boy who has a normal color vision. So remember, we said we don't just say normal, because normal is a relative term. So we have to be specific for the characteristic that we are learning. So at this point, this X, this boy is carrying this is the only son who picked the what? The X chromosome that was carrying the recessive gene. So in a way, we are saying that always boys, they pick the X chromosome from their mothers. So the boy can pick the one which is having the gene for normal color vision, or the boy can pick the chromosome that is carrying the gene for color blindness. So we say this is a boy, yes, who is colorblind. That is a boy who is colorblind. Now, these people, when they got married, all of them, they had a normal color vision. Then maybe, because there are chances, these are chances, these ones we call probability, that during fertilization, there are 4 chances that either you get a girl, 2 girls, and these 2 girls, both of them have a normal color vision, although one is a carrier, or you get a boy. Remember, we say that the chances of getting a boy or a girl is 50-50. So you can either have a girl or a boy. And these 2 boys, in this case, the boy you'll get can be either having a normal color vision or colorblind. So it is a family that had normal color vision, but at one point we are seeing they are giving birth to a boy who is what? Colorblind. So what does that tell you? It tells you that the mother was what? Heterozygous for normal color vision. Because for the man, the X chromosome is either carrying the normal color vision, the gene for normal color vision, or the gene for colorblindness. I think for that example, we'll stop there. Then we move to the second example. And in this second example, we have a man who is colorblind and marries a woman with a normal color vision. But this woman is a carrier. The woman is a carrier. Yes, she is having a normal color vision, but she's having a recessive gene for colorblind. So we said that anytime we do the genetic cross, we start by choosing the letters that we are going to use. So in our case, I will still use these letters. So we let capital N represent the gene for normal color vision, then small n to represent the gene for color blindness. Then we are saying we are having a man who is colorblind. So parental phenotype, physically the man is colorblind. Then the female is having a normal color vision. So we say normal color vision. Then parental genotype. So for parental genotype, the man is colorblind and the man is carrying only one X chromosome. So that X chromosome is carrying the gene for colorblindness. So that is the man. Then we are crossing these two with a normal color vision woman or girl, but this person was a carrier. So it is good we indicate in bracket the person is a carrier so that we are able to know that she is carrying a recessive gene. So there is a recessive gene in that female. So we form gametes. Now gametes, in this case, we are going to have X. And then we have Y. And then we are going to have X. Then we have this X, which is having the recessive gene for the color blindness. Then we do the fusion. Fusion, we said is fertilization. So during fertilization, there are 4 chances. This gamete can fuse with this one. So we are going to have N. Number 2, there is another probability or a possibility that these two gametes will fuse. Then we are going to form X. All of them, they are carrying the recessive gene. Then we have this gamete fusing with this gamete. Then we are going to have X and Y. That is a boy. And then lastly, the 4th chance is that we are going to have a boy who is colorblind. So that is our F1 genotype. That is the F1 genotype. So we want to interpret quickly on what we have. So we have F1 phenotype. So the F1 phenotype, physical appearance. Yes, someone is having the X with the dominant gene and the recessive gene. This person is having a normal color vision. But because we are talking about the X and Y, it's always good to identify if it is a male or a female. So this is a girl with normal color vision. But because of the recessive gene, this person is what? A carrier. Then we have a girl, and this girl is colorblind. This girl is colorblind. Okay, the girl is colorblind. Then we have a boy, and this boy has a normal color vision. And lastly, we have a boy, and this boy is colorblind. Now, let's do a quick interpretation of what we have done. The man was very sure that he is colorblind, and the female was very sure that she is having a normal color vision. Of course, in this family, definitely they will expect at one point they'll be having children who are colorblind. But I want to believe that this woman, because she believes that she's having a normal color vision, she may tend to say that all colorblind children in that family, it is because of the man. But let's see. This girl, she got a normal gene for the gene for normal color vision from the mother. So she got the recessive gene from the father, but she still has the normal color vision. Look at this girl who is what? Colorblind. So this girl who is colorblind, of course, she picked the X chromosome with the recessive gene from the father and the other recessive gene from the mother, of which the mother might not be aware that she's carrying that recessive gene. So if the girl is colorblind, then the two X are carrying the recessive gene for color blindness. So can you say that this girl belongs to the father because it was the father who was colorblind? No, it is a contribution from both the father and the mother. Okay, then number 2, this boy is having a normal color vision. So for that case, the lady will be very happy because she knows that normal color vision, she's the only one with the normal color vision. So children who are normal color vision are mine in that case. But you realize, of course, this is one scenario. There is the second scenario whereby another boy is what? Colorblind. Now, where did this boy get the X with the recessive gene from? It is from the mother. So in that case, we cannot say that the female who is having a normal color vision, bearing children who are colorblind, of course the man who is colorblind, you cannot say that the children are colorblind because of the man. No, we can only say that the children are colorblind because all of us, we are carrying the recessive gene that is portraying. And you can only confirm that, especially if you are getting a boy who is what? Colorblind, because a boy can only get the X chromosome from the mother. The other Y is always from the father. So if the boy is colorblind and the mother is having a normal color vision, definitely the mother is a carrier. I hope as a student you're trying to reason out. You know, you want to understand basic knowledge about inheritance. This is all about basic knowledge about inheritance. I don't know what you've learned so far, but the two characteristics that we've learned, they are sex-linked chromosome. We've learned about hemophilia and colorblindness. And the two characteristics or the two conditions, they are caused by genes that are recessive. And these genes are carried on the X chromosome. And I believe using the examples that we've done, you can be able to do more other examples. And we said why mostly people say that colorblind it is boys who are colorblind. No, it's not all boys. It's only that it is common in boys because boys, they only have one X chromosome, which might be carrying either the normal gene or the defective gene. And if they are carrying the defective gene, we say that definitely they are getting it from the mother, because boys, they get the X chromosome from the mother. Now, briefly, those are the characteristics that we've learned. And so far, I want to give you some simple questions that you're going to try at home, such that in our next lesson, if you don't understand, I think you can channel those questions to us. We will be able to assist you. Now, the first question I want to give you, based on the two examples that we've done. We've done the hemophilic, and we have also done the what? The color blindness. Now assume that you have hemophilic man. You have hemophilic man. I hope you are writing as a student. You have an hemophilic man who is marrying a woman who is a carrier for the condition of hemophilia. I want to repeat that question. You have a marriage between a man who is hemophilia and a female who is having a normal blood clotting, but she is a carrier for the condition of hemophilia. Then once you do that genetic cross, I want you to try and do it up to the F1 phenotype. Then go beyond that, try to do the ratio. What ratio? If they get the children who are hemophilic or who have normal blood clotting, get me the genotypic ratio, get me the phenotypic ratio. The same case, I'm also giving you another question on color blindness. I hope you've noted that question on hemophilic man marrying a carrier female. Do the genetic cross, do it up to F1 phenotype, then give me the F1 genotypic ratio and phenotypic ratio. Then the second question I'm giving you is on color blindness. We want to assume that you have a man who is colorblind. The man is colorblind. And the female, in this case, the female is having a normal color vision, but in homozygous condition. Homozygous means this female is going to have, XNXN. So if you are going to use the letter N, you can pick another letter so long as you do what? You do the interpretation. If you do the interpretation, that will be fine. So the same case, do that genetic cross between a colorblind man and a female who is having a normal color vision in homozygous condition. The same, also do it up to the phenotypic ratio and genotypic ratio. For example, maybe how you get the phenotypic ratio. Let's start with genotypic ratio on this example that I have here. Like now, this, how many genotype do we have here? It is 1, and then this one is 1, and then this one is 1. It's 1, so there are 4 different genotypes. So the genotypic ratio is 1 of this is to 1, this is to 1, is to 1. Also, if you do the phenotypic ratio, you are going to have 1 normal color vision girl is to ratio 1 colorblind girl is to ratio 1 normal color vision boy is to ratio 1 colorblind boy. So it is good you try those questions so that you test your understanding. Until we meet in the next lesson, see you. You've been watching our program, Knowledge Quest. Always stay tuned because I know we are going to learn more. Bye.